history of caffeine. Do you start your day with one of those? My grandson, I think, rolls out of bed with a Coke and always has a Coke in his hand all day long.
I haven't made those in a long time. My son, growing up, little guy, never let me have his
Same with our kids. Never had a Coke.
Like a Big Mac, you don't have anything to do with like it on. It's nice to have a moment to go back and watch. But when we, so this is part of it. So we use it only takes 2 minutes.
I'm retired.
Kelly had to get it on.
That really doesn't mean anything about it.
I'm really happy with it. I can't go back every Monday. It's 1 o'clock, Mr. President.
Ladies, gentlemen, I don't see many gentlemen, but I do see a couple of ladies. And so, what a wonderful day it is today. I'm Joe Jenkins, and I lost the coin flip and got to be sergeant at arms.
We lost.
So, our first day here at the Turkish Cultural and Community Center. So I thought it would be interesting for us to talk a little about Turkey. And but before that, let's do some housekeeping. And that, all right. There's a fine basket here. Okay. Now, here are the rules. Anybody that is seen using their iPhone or Googling anything during the examination part of this presentation. You can tell I don't like to stand in one place. We'll be, you have to put $5 into the fine basket. Because this is reportedly the smartest Rotarian club in the North Carolina and perhaps the nation. Now, Tim Atkins is here from the Jaffa County Club. And I think he told me earlier he agreed with that statement. Did you tell me that, Tim? I don't. He's assistant governor. He'll say anything. But I think that that's a fine. You look at your cell phone to try to figure out an answer to one of these questions and expect to put $5 in. Okay. Now I know we have.
Let me take the basket around.
Not yet. Not yet. But just relax, Roger. We're going to get it. We're going to get it. Well, the president said I can talk as long as I want to. Did you?
No, not quite.
So, all right. Do we have some guests here today?
Yes, we do.
Please, past president.
Past president, and my guest is Paul Clayton. I'm trying to follow the rule of bringing in guests who have a name of an officer in the club.
There you go. That must be a great guy with a last name.
Paul is part-time, Chapel Hill, part-time in Gainesville, Florida, and is a Rotarian in Florida, retired anesthesiologist, and hopefully be a great addition to our club.
Wonderful.
Well, I know there are other guests here. Mr. Bowles not listening. Do you want to introduce your guests? Yeah. Thank you. Would you like to introduce your guests?
My name is Bob Austin, retired doctor from the hospital.
Orthopedic surgeon.
Orthopedic surgeon. Bob Austin.
We know, are there any other guests?
He's not my guest.
Oh, wait a minute. I understand that. Can we get him out of the room?
Somebody's got to introduce Trey Doug.
My wife dropped me off here. If anybody's going through campus.
All right, more guests. All right, we have a visiting Rotarian. Any other visiting Rotarian other than our the assistant governor? Tim, you want to say anything?
No, I don't. Sure. Great job.
Thank you, Tim. All right.
really didn't mean that, Tim.
Yeah. All right, I'd like to give a prayer, if I can, to bless us all and remind us that from time to time I'll do some sort of prayer and then I'll go back and look at it and say, I wonder whether I was off or wrong or right. And this was a prayer that I gave to us on 11/13/20. And it's entitled A Prayer to Heal a Divided Nation. And it was written by the Reverend Elizabeth Caton and myself, if you will. Dear God, this new day has dawned with our country divided. Half of your people are rejoicing, the other half are stunned and afraid. We are not United States. Help us to remember that the experiment we call democracy is not over. It is still being tested. After 244 years of existence, we still have work to do. In the midst of our sense of victory, help us remember your call to us to love one another. In the midst of our sense of defeat, help us remember that you still reign. Help us to put aside our own feelings, jumbled and confused as they may be from time to time, in service of others, our families, friends, and neighbors, here and around the world. Help us strengthen our nation by finding the best in us to serve those who are the least, the lost, the lonely. We are your people. You know us by many names. You are our God. We know you by many names. May we find strength in our diversity and the courage to live by our currency's motto, in God we trust. For only in you can we live in safety. Only in you will we find justice. Only in you will we know the peace that passes all human understanding. Amen. So, and that was right after the election in November 2020. So, all right, let's talk turkey, okay? Now, there's a quiz here, so I don't want anybody to get nervous. And you can't.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for you to pass it. Thank you. Okay. Okay, let's get one thing straight. All right, tell me how you pronounce this.
Sanjar.
Sanjar. It's not Sankar. It's Sanjar. So just I know we have discussed this, but just remember that this is Sanjar. Okay. AGSF. The Aziz Gwen Sanjar Foundation. Okay? They created a 501c3 charity organization and created the Turkish Cultural Community Center. And let me just read, this is a picture of this couple, and we'll talk more about them. But let me read you this. Neither the foundation nor the Sancar Turkish Cultural and Community Center are affiliated with any religious or political organization either in the U.S. or Turkey. And they go on to talk about the initial funding. I have walked about here probably 1,000 times while it was being built and after it was built. I thought it was a mosque, as I suspect. And because there weren't many cars parked here, I said there are not many people going to the mosque. So here we are on our first day. Who is Assis Sancar? In 2015, he was a co-winner of the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. He is an MD and a PhD. He and his wife, Gwen, both went to Texas and migrated here, where he's been on the faculty of the medical school obviously for a very successful period of time. His work has been the mechanistic studies of DNA repair, and he shared that award with two other people. Okay, that's the easy part. True or false? The Sancar Center is celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Republic of Turkey this October. Yes, true or false? True. True. Incredibly, we shifted to this center the very month, October 29th, 1923, the Republic of Turkey was created. And we are here celebrating the 100-year anniversary. All right, this is a little bit harder. Which lasted longer? The Eastern Roman Empire, or the Byzantine Empire, if you will, or the Ottoman Empire?
Byzantine Empire.
Ottoman.
The Byzantine Empire.
The Byzantine Empire. Jody, you are disqualified. I realize now after the first two questions, you are disqualified. Yes. But I'll tell you after the program. All right. So Jody, of course, is correct, and it's not even close. 1,123 years for the Eastern Roman Empire, and the Ottoman Empire only 624 years. To put in perspective, I mentioned that our democracy has been here for 244
But
years.
then you give the dates.
Yes, but I didn't want to give it away. So all right, true or false? And again, there are certain tables that an individual cannot answer. With the fall of Constantinople in 1453, the Ottoman Empire named Istanbul its capital. True, false. Let's have it. What does the audience say? True. That's very false. In fact, this group has just been demoted from the smartest Rotary Club in North Carolina to the second smartest in Chapel Hill. Actually, the name of Constantinople was not changed until 1930. Hard to believe the name Constantinople was kept until 1930, when it became Istanbul. All right. True or false? With a population of 15 million, Istanbul is the largest city in Asia. False. Oh, this is such a smart group. Why? Why is it false?
Because it's smaller than some of the other.
What I'm hearing from the brilliant table up here is that it's just not the biggest city, right? In Asia, right? It ain't in Asia, guys. It's in Europe. It's the largest city in Europe. It is the largest city in Europe at 15 million. The second is Moscow. The third is London at 8 million. It is the sixth largest city in the world. And I think the rest, the ones above it, are all from India or China. So, how many people have been to Istanbul? Raise your hand. Wow, that's great. That's great. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to visit.
How many people have been 10 times? 12 times?
You can take your hand down. But thank you for the question. True or false? So far, it's about a 50-50 here. You got to get at least 70 to pass. In 1923, Ankara was named capital of the Turkish Republic. True or false? False. That's it. Everybody agrees it's false, right? Of course. It's true. It's true. It's true. I just told you Istanbul was Constantinople until 1930. Okay. All right. Okay. This may be the last one. And if you don't get this right, we plump. All right. In 2021, the United Nations granted a Turkish request to change its name to Turkey. True. What? You agree? I thank you very much. Y'all are so smart. That is true. That is why it is spelled as you see it and as you see on the Sunjar communications.
And why?
Well, I don't really know. I've seen some, suggestions, but I'm not going to go there. All right. But that is the way that Turkish language spells Turkey. So that's why it's like that. Okay. Thank y'all.
Done a great job for our first meeting here. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. How we doing today? Are we glad to be here? Yeah. All right. It's great to see everybody here today. Liz, you had a couple of announcements for me, I think.
They're just brief announcements. There is stuff about slight change. The 14th is a Women's Bill habitat. Morning and evening. Men will not be turned away. The 20th, the planting with habitat is slightly different. It's going to be a landscaping event for 2 habitat homes in Hillsborough. And the third announcement is on November the 15th. Aaron Salzberg is going to be talking in my house. Anybody who wants to come, he's the editor of Water Institute at UNC. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Liz. A couple housekeeping notes since it's our first meeting here. If everybody would put their trash, their plates, and stuff in the proper receptacle in the back of the room there, we greatly appreciate it. I know we're the first meeting here, we're getting out the kinks. Gotta say the truth about it. So anyway, today we're not going to have a speaker. I know I can't believe it, but it's been 3 months since I've taken over this esteemed office. So we're going to have, every quarter I thought about having a few of our members talk about why they're in the club, what the club has done for them, that type of thing. So we're going to start it off with Miss Peggy back here. Come on up, young lady.
All right, everyone. I'm going to read my questions. That way you can hold the others. They can't go off topic, okay? So here's my script. When did you join Rotary? 1988. I had bought a practice in Chittenango, New York, which is about a half hour east of Syracuse. And in 1985, opened the doors. I was an outsider. I didn't know anybody in Chittenango. I grew up in Long Island. I was a downstater. It's almost like north and south in the state of New York. And it's a Republican bastion, upstate New York. I know for you Southerners, it's hard to imagine, but it is. And it was a small town that had, you know, the banker and the this and the this. So the next question is, why did you join Rotary? And the answer is, I was asked. I had bought an old little house. We can't even call it a farmhouse. It was 150 years old when I bought it. It had a spring in the basement. And I became very good friends with the plumber because it was one problem after another. And the plumber was in Rotary. And after he worked with me a few times, he said, you know, you'd make a great Rotarian. Why don't you come and join Rotary? I didn't know anything about Rotary. My father was a Lion. He was kind of appalled that I would think of joining Rotary. So I went. I was the third woman in the club. You will remember 1988 was only a year or so after the Supreme Court ruled that women had to be accepted by Rotary. It was a very wonderful club. Nothing like this. It was... It was the garage shop owner, the plumber, the guy who owned the little grocery store, the guy who had the pharmacy in town, the hardware store. You get the picture? And Rotary, it's supposed to involve all of the movers and shakers in the little town. I mean, that's kind of part of its spirit. So when I bought the practice, I bought it from a veterinarian who'd been there since, 1948, and still ran it like 1948. But he not only was a big smoker and a drinker, he became involved in New York politics, and he spent all his time in Albany, and so the practice had gone. I'm a veterinarian, I didn't mention that. Oh, it was bad. So when I bought it, there were only maybe 500 clients. What positions have you held in the club? I was the youth exchange officer in that club for 7 years. One day the secretary died. We were all at lunch and we're going, where is she? Where is she? Where is she? And someone went to the house and they found her dead in her kitchen. So we had to find her. It's very sad, but she had a massive stroke or a heart attack. So I stupidly, you all know, I'm a big volunteer person, right? Oh, I'll be the secretary. So then I became secretary of that Rotary Club.
Was that while she was lying on the floor?
I wasn't that eager for the job. And I served on the board many times. And I always refused to be president because I ran a practice. I was already working 60 hours a week. Why did I do all that? What does Rotary mean to you? It was a way for me to become part of a community, the way I'd never been part of a community, other than maybe my vet school class, because when you spend 4 years with the same 80 people for 80 hours a week, you get to know them pretty well. And what does Rotary mean to you? It was seeing the kind of changes we could make in a small town. So when I sold my practice in 2003 and I moved to Virginia, first thing I did was find a Rotary Club. And I was working in Bridgewater, which is south of Harrisonburg, and I joined that club. And it's kind of a nice transition between the old club I was in, my second club, because we did do a lot more hands-on things. You know, we had a spaghetti dinner, and we had a pancake breakfast, and we cleaned up the road, and, things like that. Why should anyone consider joining Rotary? It's going to bring out the best in you. You're going to have to learn to get along with and meet and interact with people that you wouldn't necessarily choose in your day-to-day life, and you will be enriched by it. You're going to meet fabulous people. I mean, here, I've met the most amazing people, who I wouldn't normally cross paths with. I wish we did more projects together. Some of my happiest moments in this club was when I went to Nicaragua on the dental mission. That was fabulous, and the friends I made on that trip are a special kind of closeness, And I loved when we did the chili cook-off and the Oktoberfest, both of which didn't turn out to be lasting and money-making, but it was a heck of a lot of fun to organize it and be with people. What else is going on in your life? I was only given 8 minutes, so I will skip that. But the next big crisis in my life, besides I have to drive to Florida right after this meeting, is that I'm working with Bart Cleary, who some of you know is a past district governor. He's always at our lunches. We are welcoming 12 French people to a peace conference. It's starting next Sunday, not this Sunday, next Sunday. And many of the people in our club have agreed to host. Brian and Vivian are going to have a young lady living with them who happens to be an opera singer and a musician, so that was a good match, and a doctor. She's everything. And Larry McCants agreed to host a young man, and Anzor, who's not here, and his wife are taking 2 people. So, and I'm having 1. She's going to be the worst off because my house is so tiny. She's unfortunately going to see everybody else's. So that's it. Thank you. It's a real honor.
She is also my board chair person for our International Service Project coming up this year, where we're going to, her and Dave Moreau are doing a heck of a good job. More of that on follow. Looks like we're going to be able to partner with a pretty big organization, boots on the ground kind of thing, where we can go as a club, support it not only monetarily, but with our sweat labor too. Okay? I'm going to get the tall, debonair, Robert Redford kind of looking guy, well, more James Bond looking, I think. Brian Keeler, how about come on up? Let's get you started here. Bond, James Bond.
All right, Mike, just call me in when the time is up. Get your stopwatch going. So, how am I a member of this club? It was rather accidental. So, several circumstances. So, when we came to Chapel Hill in 1979, and we traveled back to Africa, to Zimbabwe, we take our suitcases and fill them up with clothes and so and hand them on. When we came back, I happened to meet 2 ladies, Bobby and Linda, not members of this club, but they were living near Pittsburgh, and they were collecting clothes, which they would repair from the thrift shops. They would launder, and they would send up to Appalachia, all over places that were really in need. Anyway, I got to know them, and they had more than they could use. So I thought, well, what a good idea. So I had by this time, my brother-in-law was a member of Rotary. His father was a member of Rotary in Harare, Salisbury at that time, Rhodesia. And so he said, well, why don't you contact my dad? Maybe Rotary there would be an interesting place for you to team up with. So we spoke to them. They were really thought this was a great idea. So at that time I was working for a tobacco company. So I said to them, well, if I can get clothing, and we ship containers of tobacco all over the world, how about I send a container of clothing out to Zimbabwe? You ship a whole lot. Let's see if we can get some free shipping. No, sure. So the shipping companies were really fine. We were big customers. So we got all these clothes from these 2 ladies, sent them down. This is a factory in Rocky Mount. Packed them all up in cases, slammed them into this container. So that was a 40-foot container that we shipped out to Africa. Rotary there did this incredible job of distributing it to villages, children's homes, all over the place. Still these wonderful photographs. Well, we're inspired by that. And they said, well, can you do some more? So I said, all right, let's see what we can do. The ladies had more clothes. So the next one, we did another 20-foot container. And we shipped that out. Anyway, about 3 or 4 months later, I get this little box from Zimbabwe. And I open this box, and there's a strange thing. It's got a yellow and blue ribbon, it's got a medallion on it, and it's got this little badge. And they had awarded me and I had no idea what this was. I was a Paul Harris fellow, and they sent me this. So anyway, I asked around, yeah, that's a Rotary, that's quite something special. So I was very pleased about that. In the meanwhile, here we are living in Chapel Hill, and so I played a bit of tennis. There was a fellow, poor guy, and he needed a partner, so we played some tennis together, and we won a few matches, and won a tournament, and so forth. So he thought, well, maybe I'd be a decent fellow to join the club. So that was Cliff Butler. And so Cliff got me into the club. So that was, I think, somewhere in the 90s. And so I've been a member since then. As for projects that I've done in the club, I'm not sure you'd like it. What we did, what I did, when my turn came up, so what you did today, the Sergeant at Arms was Sergeant at Arms every Friday for the whole year. And that was quite something. So I was very, very pleased when my year was up. I did a few Rotary projects, I think with Russ. We were doing, he speaks in a strange way, he's probably international, so what international projects can we do? And so we thought, well, and at that time, it shows what the progress is, that we sent out, and we were really proud of it, we contacted a Rotary club in Cape Town, and we got to them a computer. And they were so thrilled with this computer. Well, last year, we sent 240 computers to Zambia. So, I mean, the change, the transformation since that time. Yeah, Matt, you're a great supporter of that. A lot of you have been big supporters. Felix is doing an incredible job now because we continue to do that project. Then, Nick's not here today. Then I was speaker for had to get the speakers for a whole year. Jennifer's not here. She's doing it this year. But that was an interesting job. Because you cannot please this whole crowd. I got too many academics, too many doctors, too many sports people, something of this or that. But anyway, we got through that year all right. And I think now my projects, I've been relieved and released from my responsibilities in that area. Things that I've really enjoyed in this club. Well, one thing I have to say, and I want to thank you all. I was somewhat embarrassed about 3 weeks ago when I think it was Linda, who's not here today, and possibly Kaiser, said that there was a card because I had my leg here. I didn't want people to know that I'm frail, fragile, feeble, failing. I mean, I'm supposed to be, a sportsman, be able to play here and there. Anyway, then, so somewhat mortified by this, but they'd said it was too late. They came back after Rotary. And I can't tell you how touched I was by all your signatures that you put on this card and all wrote these little messages. And that was really meaningful. So my vanity was wounded and harmed, but it was a wonderful thing. I want to thank you all for that. That was really, really kind. So that leads me into, what's special about this club? And, I walk in here every Friday, and there's a smile comes on my face. I'm just seeing people that I know there. I see him on the tennis court. I watch his forehand, and I'm pleased I don't play against him these days. He's too good. Cecil, and I worked with you, and Habitat, and every one of you. There's a story. Martin, there's my son-in-law, what's up with him? Wonderful. Tim Smith, he was a wild kid. With our kid, our daughters at UPC, the University Christian Church. So every one of you. So I come in here, Bob Woodruff. Again, tennis partner, one of the few who's been able to play with Bob and not come away with something like this. Any number of you might have played Bob, and you have got a pulled knee, pulled muscles, his drop shots. If you ever play against him, be careful. Because he plays it like no one else. Anyway, all of you. So I love coming in here, and then the projects we do are really, really significant. I mean, what Liz has done this year with the solar paneling, partnering with Habitat, is an extraordinary feat. That here we are, this little club. And now we get featured in Rotary International magazine, and they write about us. Well, that's really impressive. So apart from the publicity, this is what we're contributing, and we take a little germ of an idea, we take it, Habitat takes us time to sell on that, but we've got that whole new development at Weaver's Grove, a solar community. other people from around the States come and look at this, and they say, wow, hey, we could do this here as well. So it's just spreads out. So something that we have a seed here, and it gets planted, and then the forest comes as a result. Let's see, I think I've answered everything.
If you feel comfortable.
Anyway, thank you. Anyway, thank you all. What am I doing? Well, I'm not supposed to actually be here today, were it not for this happening, because I was supposed to be today in Mallorca playing the World Super Seniors Tennis Championships. Wow. So this is an annual event, and it's like a Davis Cup, but countries from all over the world, so in your different age groups. So if you want to play for the United States, you've got a challenge, because you've got a lot of people. But if you play for Zimbabwe, it's just... So, yeah, even though they're cool, they really need players. I think I was just a bit beyond it. Anyway, so the compensation is to see you all here, so thank you. I heard beforehand speaking up on 14.
Quick note here, we got 2 members who've been out a little while, recovering from some surgery. I want to welcome back Ed Loudermill and Bill White. Both of you guys, glad to see you.
Yes. Russ was going to do that. And one more quick announcement before we get to the last 2 member moments.
Yeah, a sad announcement. A couple people asking, for those of you who knew Ann Peterson, who's been a member for quite a while. Ann just died yesterday. She'd been on a downhill slope here for the last couple of months. But the one really neat thing about it is that she had always wanted to go to the U.S. Open, and her kids took her to the U.S. Open this past month. So that was a real big bucket list for her.
Thank you. All right, we've got 2 more lucky victims here. So I think Steve Frommy's the closest. So guess what? You're up. It's so much fun being president.
All right. So Peggy had notes written down. Since I can't read my own handwriting, I put them on my iPad here. First question was about when I first joined Rotary. Do you all remember what a scare there was for Y2K? We thought the world was going to end and all that. Well, it wound up being a false alarm, except for this club. Because in 2020, that's when I joined. I've been paying the price ever since. Actually, I've been invited to come to East Chapel Hill Rotary probably 15 or 20 years before that. I loved the meeting, and I was excited about it, and I was asked if I'd like to come back and think about joining. I said, that'd be awesome. And then I was told at that point you had to attend every meeting. And I just couldn't make that commitment then, but fortunately, eventually I was invited back. Why did I join Rotary? Actually, for a number of reasons. One, Bob Ward, who's up next, might touch on this, I don't know. I was a member of the Chapel Hill Carver JCs back in the 70s and early 80s, and it was a great group. It was all male, but it was, age 36 or younger, and we met regularly and we had projects regularly. I mean, all the time. We did golf tournament. We did high school concession stand at Chapel Hill High, which has some strange stories about it. We did hot dog stand at the 4th of July celebration, Carver. The list goes on and on. The J.C. Burns Center at the hospital, it's because we sold so much grape jelly and also bought what we didn't sell. But the thing about the J.C.'s we were doing projects so often together. There was such camaraderie, and we developed friendships which have lasted all these years, and I'm still close friends with Bob and several others from that club, and several of them were in this club, and I think several still are, actually. So I was looking for something like that, and I knew a lot of the people in the club, and it just, you know, the time was right, and I felt lucky to be back to have the opportunity again. What positions have I held, and what projects have I worked on? I've worked on most of the projects. I can't say I've worked on all of them, but I especially enjoy the teacher supply store, I have to say. As far as the positions I've held, well, the first position I held was during Mike Field's presidential year. He asked me to be program chair, and I know you're never supposed to say no in Rotary, but I said, Mike, you know, we have all these heavy hitters in the club. And that's like Dick Bedore was the athletic department head at UNC. He knew practically everybody. Jim Hefner did know everybody, even if they didn't know him. But no, they knew him too. And I said, you know, I'm a nobody. He said, don't worry about it. You form a committee, you don't even have to worry about getting programs. And as it turned out, you know, I brought in a number of good programs myself, but the committee did a great job. David, I think you were on it, weren't you? That's right. And the cool thing was that Paul Hardin, the former chancellor, was on my committee, and I love being able to tell people that the chancellor's now working for me. Yeah, that was pretty cool. What does Rotary mean to you? That's tough to summarize. I mean, really, it's something I look forward to every week. They say laughter is the best medicine. I know I'm going to come here and get some laughs. I've met so many people who I wouldn't have met otherwise that are great. You should all give yourselves a hand. You know, it's like a family, and it's special. Why should anyone consider joining Rotary? Well, I think I just answered that question, but there are lots of reasons. I mean, we all should give back, and Rotary is a great vehicle for doing so. And, you know, like people talk about with so many things, what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. And if you put in, you know, time and effort to this club, you're going to come out on the plus side. You're going to get more out of it than you put in. What else is going on in my life? Well, I'm busy. I did flunk retirement several years ago. I served on the board of the Better Business Bureau for over 30 years, and they finally figured a way to get me off that board was to create a conflict of interest in hiring me. So I've been working there. It's hard to believe this is the 10th year. I'm very proud of my contributions there. Actually, some of you have seen my Scam Busters program. BBB has what they call a BBB Assembly annually, where right now I think it's 95 offices in the U.S. and Canada meet, and there are all mergers going on. Actually, we took over the Myrtle Beach BBB this past year, so it's been pretty wild. But like I said, I think there are 95 different offices now, and I developed Scam Busters in 2017. 2018, we had an assembly. 2019, there was none because of COVID in 2020 or 21. And then we had it in 22 and 23. So 4 years since I developed the program. It's won one of the highest recognitions 2 of those 4 years. That's pretty cool. I feel like an old man still can contribute. So I'm trying to balance work with everything else. My wife, I know most of you probably know at this point, she has Alzheimer's, and so caring for her and maintaining a bit of sanity, that's pretty much those things are a full-time job. Thank you for your time.
And don't worry, Steve, I'll help you with your insanity. I'm real good at that. Steve brought up something when I first joined Rotary, the first time I walked in to sit at the table. I knew a few people here, but I sat at the table and there was Chancellor Paul Harden, there was the athletic director, Dick Baddour, there was the chairman of the UNC hospital sitting here, and I thought, what in the world am I doing here? But it all worked out, I guess, in the long run. Last but certainly not least is a long distinguished Chapel Hillian, goes by the name of Bob Ward. We affectionately refer to him as Bobby Q.
Well, I was, first of all, I was wondering why I was asked to do this.
Because you would.
And I just figured it out in the last 30 minutes. I'm the only one up here that speaks good Southern English.
Wait a minute, Bob.
Today. So I'm going to start this by one sentence. And I'm going to give Freddie Kiger credit for this sentence. This was the last thing he said in his talk at our 50th anniversary celebration. And that was every Friday at 1. So think about that. I'll finish up with the rest of what he said that night. I joined in the fall of 1999. Bill Ellis asked me to come, and I later found out that there were a lot of people in that room that Bill Ellis had invited to join East Chapel Hill Rotary. So many times I've said publicly in front of all of you, thank you to Bill Ellis, and challenge you, as I've done many times, to thank the person that brought you here, because none of us would be here if somebody had not invited us to come. David Frost was the president of East Chapel Hill Rotary, and he did something that I will never forget. The day I joined, he called me at home that night and thanked me for joining, and I never will forget that David did that, and he's been a great friend. When I was first joined, I knew some people in the club. I've been around town all these years, so I knew some through neighborhood, church, work, community, and like Steve just talked about, our time in the JCs. It was a special time, and Steve and Charles Harrison had been a JC and was in this club. Griff Graves, you all remember Griff. And so to me, it was just like picking up where I left off. And then a couple of years after I'd been in, Trey Doak, who thankfully is here today. It's great to see you. Trey, I could take you over to Sheraton and sit you at the table that I was sitting next to Trey the day he asked me if I would be treasurer. And the way he asked me was pretty unusual. He said, I know when you joined, they told you you could never say no. But I'm going to ask you if you'll do this job, but I'm going to give you the chance to say no, because it's a job that takes a lot of time and commitment. But I did say yes, and I ended up doing it for 4 years. So then, luckily enough, Robert Spransky joined the club, and he straightened all the mess out and got everything organized, and I think we've been in pretty good shape ever since Robert got things organized. I had the pleasure of serving under Cliff Butler as program chair. Cliff said, I want you to be my program chair. I went, Cliff, that's a big job. He said, well, let me tell you one thing first. I said, what's that? He said, I've already lined up all the programs. I said, well, I think I can do it. But then later, came to me and said, look, I've had a couple cancellations. I said, well, you know, I think I went to high school and college with Alexander Julian. I think I could get him to come speak. He said, that would be great. I've been thinking about him. I've known him since I was 6 years old. Cliff Butler knows everybody. His sister was in Chapel Hill back when Alex was a boy, and she and her husband then lived next door to the Julians. And Cliff used to come up here and play with Alexander Julian when he was about 5 or 6 years old. So anyway, that was the one program I got that year. The one program. Because unfortunately, Alex spoke, I don't know if y'all probably remember this, Alex spoke for about an hour and a half. And then in December 2014, I got that fateful call from Carl Turnage, where they call you to say, we want you to be secretary. Well, you know what they're really saying is in 3 years, we want you to be president. So I did say yes to that, and which meant I was secretary when the year that Christy Jones was president. So that was a special year. Don Radford, many of you remember Don, he filled in for me for the first month of that because Ann and I had to spend all that month in South Carolina. My brother was ill and eventually died. And I always was very appreciative of Don doing that for me. And then I was president in 2017 to 18, our 50th year. I counted 50 on my fingers, I don't know how many times leading up to that year to make sure that's what it was going to be. And it was. Every time it came out as 50. But we had a great event. We had a past president's event. It was hosted by Dickie and Linda Bedore, which was just really an awesome thing to see all those. We had, I think, of all the living past presidents, we had maybe all but one or two who were able to be at that night at Dickie and Linda's. And that was even after we had to postpone it a week or two because it snowed. But Dickie and Linda came through even with that. Mark Zimmerman, Rob Maitland, and Dickie, great job on that event. My first project I worked on was bike night, like a lot of us. Let me tell y'all, every bike my daughter Katie ever got, I paid somebody $10 to put together. Mr. Sharp down at Western Auto, they used to charge you $10 to put the bike together. So that was good money to me. So I'd never put together a bike in my life. And I was I think I told Trey Go. I said, Trey, I'm worried about this. I don't know if I can put it together. But he said, don't worry about it. Just get with Charles Harrison. So I said something again to somebody else. And he said, don't worry about it. Just get together with Charles Harrison. Somebody else. I thought, damn, Charles is going to have about 20 people working with him. Because Charles could do anything. But I think I struggled through with the help of Charles Harrison. Went on a Rotary trip with Cliff Butler to Dunn. What a day. What a day. Cliff took us to the General William Lee Museum. Started the 82nd Airborne. We went to the battlefield at Aversboro. We went to the biggest buffet I have ever seen. It was in an old grocery store. Then the most fun I think I ever had in Rotary was the softball team we had. What a softball team. For years, Rotary had kind of struggled. They've not been very good. So there were a couple of guys that wanted to get a little bit more serious about it. So they had Robert Oates working on it. And so I had played some ball, and so I said, Robert, I could be on the team if you need some. He said, you're too old. He said, but you can come help me. So that was more fun. We won a couple of championships. We didn't break NCAA rules, but we break a lot of rules with recruiting players and that kind of thing. But one person on the team quoted, and some of the best times we had were after the games, going out and celebrating and whatever. And somebody said we were the only athletic team in the country that gains weight during the season. Dean Linky, who was in this club and was on the softball team, did a special thing for me. The night I got the Paul Harris Fellow, he wrote a poem, and I still have that poem, and it's meant a lot to me to read that. I remember the day that Dickie Bedour told me I'd been voted the second cheapest man in Chapel Hill to Bill White in a poll conducted at the Chapel Hill barbershop. I think that was called Bill and I were the only one that didn't tip the barbers.
Bill didn't even pay him.
Ed Loudermilk and Gary Hill used to do a great routine when they reenacted Karnak the Magnificent. Johnny Carson and Ed McMahon. And I will never forget the one that they did when Mitt Romney was running, and the lines of Karnak or from Ed McMahon, Ed Loudermilk, to Karnak, Gary Hill was a presidential candidate, a catcher's glove, and Linda Butler. Ask me sometime and I'll tell you what the response was. There were the trips with Freddie to Gettysburg, and also the trip with Freddie and Tara O'Donnell, Pat Phelan's wife, to Charleston. Those were special. The Tuesday lunches, those are so special. We still miss Ron Lynch and Paul Ransford. Holiday parties, installation banquets, even Bob Wooders with no dessert. So the question, I haven't repeated the questions, y'all already heard them from everybody else. But one was, why? Well, Ann and I have gotten to know so many people that we would not have known, or we've gotten to know better by being in this club. We become friends and shared special times together and even away from Rotary. So it's not just about the meetings or the projects or the trips or the events. It's about all of you. The names I've said and the ones I've not mentioned. It's that goodwill and fellowship thing in the four-way test. So as Freddie Kiger at our 50th celebration so eloquently stated, as he began his comments, and he stole the show that night from the governor of North Carolina, just as Charles Carroll did from Bill Clinton at the UNC bicentennial. Quote, truth, fairness, fellowship, and goodwill. That's what we share every Friday at 1. That's when we routinely gather. But as you know, what goes on is rarely routine. Our meetings, and I would add to that, also East Chapel Hill Rotary, are unique in this great wheel of Rotary. So, Nick and Mike, that's why. Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for my four people that got up here and helped us make. This is what makes this club, y'all. I've been in a lot of places. I've seen a lot of things. I have never seen nothing like this. But I got one question to ask y'all. How many in this room knows what the hell a chitlin is? Raise your hand. Oh, a whole lot more than I thought. We are done for this week. Big football game tomorrow, 3:30 Chapel Hill. Go Heels. Y'all have a great weekend.